Welcome, welcome, welcome to CrazyLive.
Yeah.
We are very honored and very glad that we have our special guest, Ted. I'm going to ask him to introduce himself. We have Alex, we have Sean as well. This is going to be a crazy live. So go ahead, guys, introduce yourself.
Sure, I'm Ted. Nice to meet you guys. I'm the CEO and co-founder of NFT.me, and we do 3D, right, really well. We figured out how to make people look real in 3D. And the secret, I'll tell you guys all the secret. The secret is simple. We use real people as our ingredients. We don't sit there and draw people and try to make them real. We actually take people and we built the technology that can capture them. We have 100 cameras in a studio, and we shoot all the cameras, shoot all the angles, and then we use a lot of technology actually to figure out how to make them look good. And that is really hard because lighting is really important. As anyone who does anything in photography work knows, lighting is super important. And if you do, and I'll just give you guys one example. If you give light like this on a person's face, guess what happens to their back? It turns black. So then you got to put some light on their back, and then their face turns black. Then you got to put some more light on the side. So we have all this specialized lighting that we've figured out how to do in 360 that really highlights their entire body and whatever they're wearing, right? So 360, high definition people, we figured it out.
Nice.
I'll pass it over to you, Alex.
I was just like super conscious of the light when you started saying that. I like.
Yeah, you're super bright. Tone it down. Tone it down.
All right. So basically, yeah, I'm Alex. I'm the CTO of CrazyMeta. Yeah, I want to see what we can like talk about in these like little casual chats. I think it could be fun. Yeah, that's why I'm here. So let's do it. Let's do this thing.
I'm Sean. I'm helping out with BD at CrazyMeta.
So the topic for today, since we are all heading toward the Metaverse, and since we are talking about NFTs and stuff, let's start off with the topic of the Metaverse.
Look, the Metaverse, I have a very strong opinion about the Metaverse. I know Alex and I chatted about it. I know I go on AMAs about it. I don't think I'll just be frank, I don't think it's a place. What I think it is it's a set, the next generation of tools and platforms. I don't think it's going to be one place where people go and do one thing. It's going to be thousands, tens of thousands of places. And will they start to connect over time? Yeah, maybe there's going to be like one login eventually that you can go to all these different places. And rather than walking from one place to another, it's just like you appear and then you appear at another place. It's these concepts where people have to walk in a room and have little legs and move around. I don't think all that matters, right? What I think matters is you're going to give people tools in order to build experiences, build places, and then all that's going to start to build up. And eventually there's going to be this intersection between utility and all these places. Think about it as tens of thousands of communities of people who like what they do. Whatever it is, I really like sailing. Then all these people show up and do sailing stuff together. And then I really like, square dancing. And then those people will figure out how to communicate. And it might not even be visual. It might not be 3D. It might not be VR or AR, any of those things. It just could be a chat room. That is Metaverse, right? Yeah. And then when all of that starts to build over the next 5 years, 10 years, eventually you're going to get to some sort of consolidation. And that consolidation will say, let's start to make these things easier for people too, because the square dancer dude also likes boots. I'm making that up, by the way. I'm just guessing, right? And then the sailor guy also likes ropes. I don't know. I'm making that up as well, right? Like there's going to be intersections because one person isn't one community. One person is going to be part of many hobbies, many interests, many communities. So then there's going to be some consolidation, right? I think that's. In short, I don't think the Metaverse is a place. I think the Metaverse is the evolution of next generation tools to allow people to build newer and newer experiences that are both interactive and offline as well, right? All of that combined into a layer. It's going to turn into, think of it all this way, it's an ice cream cone that keeps on building. And eventually you got to deal with it because you got this massive ice cream cone that's going to start to topple and fall and it's going to get confusing. Then you got to do some consolidation. You got to eat some of that. And you got to get some spoons. Make it easy for people. Okay, I'm going to stop.
I don't know why you don't say it like you say it's not a place. It's not a specific place, is what you mean, right? It's like it's a place like
Yeah,
a
it's not
universal
like
place, right? Like
right. It
it's
could be. It's like all over the place, right? It's
yeah,
ubiquitous. It's
yeah,
going to be on your
yeah, yeah.
phone. It's going to be on your
Like
laptop.
I
It's
can
going to be
make
on
one right now.
walls,
Like
right?
I'm a
Yeah.
developer. I can just like make my own little room, and like that's part of the metaverse now, or and
Right.
I have the same thoughts as you do there. I find it extremely strange that it's like that it's the metaverse, like a singular thing. But yeah, like with digital technology, right? Like copy paste is a thing. I can just like have a metaverse and then I have another one and then another five and whatever. And those don't have to be connected. Actually, you're way more optimistic about them being consolidated than I am. I don't believe that's ever going to happen. Like just because I can just make my own metaverse right now and say it's not connected. That's the special thing about my metaverse, and like be dystopic if I have to like log in with Mark Zuckerberg's username password or something, right? So I don't want that to happen in these spaces. I like what you said about like the chat rooms and stuff like this. Like like right now it's like super trendy again because there's some 3D worlds that build themselves as a metaverse, and that's cool. I'm not hating on Sandbox or whatever. I like it. I think it's pretty dope. Like I've been living in the metaverse since like 1998. And like it's the AOL chat room. It's IRC. It's whatever. It's just we're talking to each other across time and space. And I realized this recently, right? Like that there's this concept where it's like I'm searching for something online and some dude on, I don't know, Reddit had the same problem 8 years ago, and like I'm reading his thoughts and I'm like, oh, like he's trying to deal with this thing, and I'm like I'm communicating with this person through space and time. It's ridiculous. And I think now with this like representation of self in like a 3D space, like yeah, that's pretty cool. Like I think it makes it easier for people to just be able to interact with each other as humans, right? Like you don't have to go through this kind of abstract text layer or like 2D kind of like website layer, which is cool. But really, like in essence, we're having this call right now through the internet. Like this is also virtual, right? There's like a virtual space that we've just created that connects all of our rooms through some camera technology and whatever, and we're talking as if we were in the same space. That's kind of how I think about it, right? In the metaverse and how it all works.
I think what everyone has said is pretty much true. The metaverse is probably just interacting with each other through the internet. But I think the metaverse is not revolutionary without Web3. You need that aspect of digital ownership, make the metaverse have any real life tangible value. I think if you can prove that you own something, now something becomes interesting. But without that ability, I don't think it's that revolutionary, basically.
Noted. So from what Ted has just said, I immediately on my side, right? I visualize Westworld. It's like one is like the traditional, Japanese samurai era, and the other one is like, hey, high tech flying here and there. And what Alex has said is like we are in a chat room right now with just a different face. I could be like Mickey Mouse and could be like a Donald Duck. It's just 3D, And what Sean has said is like immediately is like the building of what metaverse is, the multiverse is about. That means there's a layer in between of this that you've got to own it, and nobody owns your data as well as your privacies.
Well, I'm going to jump in on Sean's comment. I agree with you, Sean, right? Web3 is a term that people like to throw around, but again, next-gen tools, next-gen platforms. But underlying Web3 is a new concept, and there is new things under the sun. I disagree with that statement, right? There's always some new thing really, truly coming that's new. Blockchain is entirely new. Newton and Galileo and all these older, they never would have thought of something like that, right? I think these things are net new to humanity and civilization. And I think that the concept of digital membership / ownership will become normal. It took this year, it took last year for people to get like, that's interesting, right? And then as it starts to become mainstream, I think people will get it. Like if I'm part of the sailing community, right, and I'm contributing to it, I should get part of the sailing ecosystem. I should own part of the ecosystem itself because I've contributed my time and my IP, right? I've contributed to build this thing. that is net new. And I think that will permeate what's being built, and it will become part of this future world. So I agree with you, Sean, that we didn't mention the ecosystems and the cultures that are going to be occurring in this new place, right? But yes, absolutely permeating that is people who are metaversians, right? Like right now, I personally, I consider myself what I would say a global citizen. I'm not one of those crypto guys that goes, no, I hate the system. The systems work. They provide value for people, but you can live additional community-based lives outside of the one you live for that place you're in, right? This metaverse life. And that metaverse life means that why are you subject to some sovereignty or some jurisdiction? You're not. You're subject to the one you created, right? And then that ecosystem should be able to compensate you for your contributions. That's going to be an interesting concept as it evolves over the next 20 years. It's going to be a while. Right now, you, Sean, are young, but you're going to be OG pretty soon in this world, right? In this future world, you're going to be like one of the OGs, and you're going to be like, in my day, we had to go to the thing and press this button, and they're like, what? You're crazy. Like, yeah, you're going to get there. I feel that way, right? About some people today, right? Because I'm like, I was Web 1 and then Web 2. Like, I was part of the .com boom, part of Y2K, and I did all those kinds of things in the past, right? And what happens over time is you start to, for me, see the trends that are forming underneath the big thing. So there's the big thing that everyone does, and then there's the new thing that's kind of threading its way through and connecting dots, and then earning it's like, I don't know how to say it, but it's kind of like cancer, right? If it's good, it's like cancer. It's growing, and it's like spreading and spreading. Yeah, that's what's happening with Web3. This digital ownership is one part of it. Digital economy, this metaverse economy is another part of it. This social and community ecosystem is another part of it. You combine all three, you're going to be developing new models for contribution and membership. And we're only seeing the beginning of what I don't want to even say the word NFT, but we're only seeing the beginning of what these capabilities and platforms are bringing us. I can go forever.
No, I agree. I think basically we're going to create a capitalist libertarian utopia, and I think that, of course, the metaverse and digital ownership is going to be a big part of it. I mean, one of the concepts that I really want to explore is what happens when everything is tokens or coins that are made to be a transfer of wealth. What about equity when that becomes currency? Look at all of your token valuations. What happens when, for example, you go to McDonald's and McDonald's says, actually, we only accept a McDonald's coin as currency for our items. You can only buy with McDonald's coin.
This concept of measuring things, it's like scientific idea, right? We like, how far is the moon? Like how much does this thing weigh, and so on. Like putting numbers on things has really been like humanity's superpower, right? And like we kind of like understand the world, interact with the world through this kind of like mathematical thinking of measuring things and then being able to do radio waves and stuff. This is all because we have like numbers. And I think tokenizing different things and kind of measuring, like he was saying, equity with tokens, like it provides like this kind of, it's like a yardstick for interactions in a way, right? So like this kind of like measurability of different things that previously were not measurable. And I think that's pretty cool. Like, but it also it's also very dangerous what you do with those numbers. I think it definitely is a cool opportunity. Like one of the things that I was kind of shaking my head when I was saying like libertarian capitalist utopia. One of the things that I think is important to remember is like when something is like democratic, right? When like some community has to kind of get together and decide something for itself. Is important is that this community has some kind of stake in the community, right? So like the individual people in the community actually care about what they're voting about. And so I think equity is a very good way to incentivize people to care. I don't think that Web3 is super important for the metaverse, the concept of the metaverse. The metaverse is something that it's a space that connects people, and what we just talked about in different styles. Maybe it's 3D, maybe it's not. And I think Web3 gives that or allows some kind of like equity value transaction within those spaces, and that's very cool. And I think they fit together quite well. But I don't think it's a requirement. And maybe it's a requirement in the sense that it provides the mechanism that you incentivize people with to care about the metaverse, and that might be more important than I think. Maybe in that sense, I don't need a token to get Elon's brain chip, call my brother and be like, yo, let's dance on the moon at like some cool gravity setting. Like there's no token required. I'm gonna have lots of fun without any kind of value transaction or anything like this. But like for building a community, for getting people aligned and kind of all people in order, and all pulling on the same strings for getting something done. Tokens are pretty cool for that.
Last question to go around for the next 5 minutes. Ted, when do you foresee the metaverse to be really like a game like? Tried every single one and it's not very fluid. That's the word. What do you think?
Well, the problem right now is infrastructure. So I'm gonna sorry, Sean, I'm just gonna say this. Without infrastructure, you can't do anything, period. Right? And who pays for the infrastructure is what is happening now, right? We're trying to figure that out. Right now, governments pay for the infrastructure. Sorry, Sean, I'm sorry. But the governments pay for the infrastructure. All those wires and connections around the world that make our world, first world today, is paid by governments because they need this as a service for their people. It's a requirement. Food, lodging, right? Education, and now internet is like one of the Darwinian, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You got the internet in there as well, right? So it's part of the infrastructure that we pay for as citizens of a country, not just police and all those things, but you need somebody to pay for the big bucks. Laying down all these wires and pipes and putting down all this technology is massively expensive. No Ethereum, no Bitcoin can pay for it. It's that kind of level cost. It needs to be supported by something, right? Right now in the quote unquote metaverse, and I hate to use your example, Eddie, it's not a place, it's not a thing, it's services and tools in my mind. It's not there yet. In my project, I make super hyper realistic 3D people, right? I talked about that. They're not hyper realistic because they're real. I take people, I put them in a studio, I use all this technology, and I can capture every angle, every spot, right, and make it look good. And then my question is, what do I do with it? When I talk to like Decentraland, they're like, oh, I got to get a file this kind, this size, this many million vertexes, this many million triangles. It's like technology talk, right? It's very complicated. Then when I talk to Sandbox, they're like, nope, it's going to be this file and this size and this shape and whatever. And then when I talk to Superworld, they're like, no, we need this kind of file, right? And this kind of shape and this kind of size to work in this world. Right now, that's the conversations I have on a daily, because I'm always talking to see where my 3D people can go and live as a service to the people that invest in me, right? I want to build more opportunities for them to showcase my cool people, right? So I got to have those conversations. Nowhere near that. In addition to the cycling of the markets, I know that this video could be seen, in 2024 and 2025. Maybe the market's great then, who knows, right? But you get these cycles of people investing and getting out and investing and getting out. And what it does is starts to burn into people that this is temporary, right? That's what it does. You got to put your stop limits in, make sure you grab what you can, like honestly, the builders should just keep building and ignore the tokenomics, ignore all that, just keep building, right? And if your vision of whatever you're building is something that people will use, your return at the end will be a big pot. But imagine a journey where there's nothing, a long dusty road and then a big pot, versus trying to get pots along the way, which is what's happening with cycles, just disrupting this entire ecosystem, right? So in short, the metaverse is nowhere near nowhere. If Sandbox, Decentraland, Superworld, Portals, Morodok, if these are our examples, it's nowhere near where it needs to be. And then the infrastructure behind it, nowhere near where it needs to be. For me, I have to do something within 12 megabytes or 10 megabytes for an Ethereum block, or 14 megabytes for a Solana block. Or if I have to do all that, that's hard. That's really hard. We're still at the infrastructure stage. We're building bridges and roads, and everyone's envisioning, cities and life, and we're still building like a road to like a desert, like Las Vegas. It's like nothing. And then when there's no road there, we still need to build all those roads, and that's where we're at. So, in short, Eddie, we're nowhere near. The technologies are all over the place, and it's really hard for builders to build because you got to build 5 things to meet customer expectations versus 1, right? The market cycling isn't helping.
I completely agree with that. Like we're like that last point actually is the most important one in my eyes. Is that we have to build all kinds of things, and I can't just build like, oh, like here's what I want to focus on. This is the thing because I have all this infrastructure to fall back on. I don't. It's painful and it's tough and it's slow. And yeah, like we're building a parking lot in the desert right now, and hopefully we'll be able to park all our cars there eventually. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. I think this is the saving grace though. Is like for me, it's like it's really fun. Like we get to build this stuff. Like we get to decide. That is so cool, right? Like it's this is how it's gonna be done in the future. We're defining that right now. That's amazing, right? And so I'm very thankful at this opportunity to be able to be there before it was cool, And I guess that's my closing sentiment, a positive one.
I second what Alex is saying. Is like, I think the process is precious. The journey is always what we enjoy most. Thank you very much, Ted. Okay.
That was great.